It's May 16th, Thursday, on this beautiful evening. It's not raining. Thanks for being here. This is the Historic Districts Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First piece of business is just to go over voting members for the applications we have in front of us for tonight. Voting members are Ronnie, Mike, myself, and Virginia. And just to keep things consistent with last time, Thomas, could you be the fifth voting member on the first application?
Yep.
And the second application?
Yep.
That would be great. And then, Justin, could you be the fifth voting member on 191 to keep that consistent with last time? Okay. And then, let's see, Justin, could you also be the fifth voting member on the next one?
119 South.
119 South, yep. And,
excuse me, there's no vote on that?
okay, it's informal, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Justin, could you be the fifth voting member on 570 Main?
Okay.
And then, Ben, would you be so kind to do the last three so you don't fall asleep?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you for doing that, everyone. All right, does anyone have any conflicts with any of the applications we have in front of us that they would need to recuse themselves?
No.
No? Okay. All right, good.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mike watched the,
I did, yep.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, and with that, let's start it off with the Flahertys. Thanks for coming in, and we really appreciate you having us out a couple Saturdays ago to see your wonderful home.
So, you know, we're really, we've made a major modification, and we are substituting the pavers that we had originally discussed, and we've substituted the traditional City Hall brick pavers that you see around town, and a number of driveways and other walkways are done. And my wife actually did a little mock-up of what it will look like when that's done, and this will replace gravel, which, as we said, has been very problematic for us as far as paving. And we're trying to get some additional parking, and using this as a as the primary material for the hardscape, we think will add a lot of ambiance to the front of the house. We're also trying to get a little privacy from North Street, which is kind of busy, and using some fencing, decorative fencing, cedar fencing that was in the original application. We're not really changing that too much, but we wanted to delineate where that would be and make it a little clearer for you, and we had it sprayed by the mason where that fence would be going around the perimeter of the parking area, and putting in a gate for access to the back. So other than that, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it's going to look something like that, very traditional. I think certainly better than tar, but you know, what's there just isn't really working very well. So that's really the application. And you know, with the weather, as you just discussed, we've been pushed off until probably early June to begin working on this. It'll be probably a 2 or 3 week project to get it all done.
Any questions on 272 North?
So the pavers, they're now brick?
We're switching to the traditional, which you have right in front of here, Town Hall. It's all over town.
Yep.
So I did a little driving tour, and I was a little concerned about its use for driveways because, you know, it obviously takes more traffic than a sidewalk and things like that. But, you know, we think we can work with it, and so we switched to that.
And the pattern?
It'll be a herringbone pattern. There may be some delineation around where the garden areas will be that might be, you know, where that will stop and there'll be a border. It could be granite. We're not quite sure. We just did the garden tour in Beacon Hill today and got some additional ideas. We might make some changes, but it'll be really nice when it's done. Okay, it'll look nice.
Thank you.
So the difference from your last application is that you're switching to brick.
Correct.
And the fence will remain the same? Yes.
Pretty much the same. Yeah, we're using, standard shiplap fencing, cedar with an English lattice open top. I see it around town on Main Street
Yeah.
quite frequently, and it's largely to give us some screening and privacy from the street.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think my concern at the last meeting was the elaborateness versus the lovely simplicity of your home.
We're trying to keep it simple. We're not going to paint it. It's just going to be, cedar that will just age out and turn silver and keep it, fairly simple. It's going to be fairly open at the top, so it look a little bit more, I think, rustic than maybe a tighter weave. And it's not going to be very ornate as far as the tops. We're going to keep it very square and very kind of low-key as possible. We want to get a little visibility. I thought it'd be too overwhelming to have 6 solid feet of, board fence with nothing coming through. And we do need lattice on the side of some sort so we can see oncoming traffic, because it's a busy road, and, our neighbor and we need to see, through the fence. So if it was a solid fence, we would kind of be a little more, I think, difficult to back out.
Yeah.
And this is still accurate of that fence that you just...
That was drawn by Walpole. There will be some slight modifications to it because I think we've probably changed the density of the length of the actual paving area and where the retaining wall is going to go, the stone retaining wall, maybe back a foot from where that is to give us a little more parking. But, so basically there'll be more fence than what's that showing because it'll be on the sides to incorporate that. To the right of the house, and there'll be nothing different on the left of the house. So that's basically the design.
And so you have it drawn here as it comes out and down the side. So
It comes
it's
down the
going
side,
over
right.
About 37 feet at about 20
Right.
feet.
It'll slope down to 2 feet from 6 feet on the sides,
Yep.
both sides.
Solid board 4 feet, lattice 2 feet above.
Correct. And that'll run right across. There'll be a gate to get access to the back, and that'll be basically look like part of the fence. We're not making it ornate, or anything like that. It's not going to have a scallop top or anything crazy. Very straightforward.
Anything else? Any other questions? You talked at the site visit about doing some stair work, correct? So you're going to...
We're going to do a separate...
application?
We weren't able to get the plans tonight in time. We had one architect that was going to give us a rough drawing, but it wouldn't have been to scale. And given that we need to get this done first, that probably won't be done until July or August or something. So, we've got plenty of time to come back in June for that.
Ready for a motion? Someone like to step up with that? Thomas, you want to do it? Okay.
I would like to do a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 272 North Street, based on applicants dated 3/25 for a cedar fence, 6 foot tall, 4 foot solid with 2 foot ladders on top, and a red brick driveway in front of the house in a herringbone pattern. The cedar fence is going to be according to drawings made by Walpole on 3/7/19 and outlined in the specifications also from Walpole on 3/1/19.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good.
All right, well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Good luck with your
Thanks a
project.
lot.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we have 171 North Street. The Haywoods are here, I believe.
171 Main.
What's that?
Main.
71 Main.
Oh, Main, what did I say?
North.
North, oh, jeez.
When I watched the video, I noticed you did the same thing last time too. I don't know.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
John Teriyaki. I'm here with Eleia Haywood again, and just want to hand these out. I'm not sure if you saw it already, but they show the dormer change that we had discussed. I emailed them to Andrea. I'm not sure if that was forwarded to you or not, but I believe that was the primary drawing modification that you were interested in seeing before the site visit. And here I just put them side by side, the shed dormer from the first presentation and the more Nantucket style dormer, so-called. Basically taking the same module of the existing gable dormers around the house and creating a shed dormer in between the two. I think one other comment was possibly putting a third window between the two garage windows, but we felt that that was going to be maybe too many windows on one facade, almost like a grid of 6 windows. So for now, we held off on that, but we did reflect the Nantucket dormer. Oh, I actually have an easel with me. Yeah, I'll just set up my easel. Worried that could happen. I'm going to abort this.
I can hold it too.
Maybe I will use that. Thanks.
They don't make them like they used to.
Thank you. Yeah. Those aluminum tubes, solid steel.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I wasn't sure if there were other observations or comments from the site visit in addition to this modification.
Thanks for having us out. That was really helpful. But I'll do that. Sorry.
I think the site visit reinforced the benefit of the modifications of the design, because it does, you see it right from Main Street, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is the most
it's nice.
visible
It's very visible.
facade, so.
Just before we get into discussion, are there any comments from the audience? Are there any questions? Are any abutters here? No? Okay. Would like to start off with any input or questions?
I'd like to ask, when you did the study of the new dormer versus the old, is there a preference from your side about which one you think works best for the structure or that you'd prefer?
It's a good question. I think we keep changing our mind a little bit,
I
right?
keep changing my mind. I like the inside of what's inside of the one on the right, but I kind of like the look on the left more, so I'm kind of
We created
open.
a 6-inch jog
Yeah.
inside the room.
Yeah.
And, what do you think? Should we show that rendering maybe?
Of the inside?
From the street, the street rendering?
Oh, of the
3D.
street? Sure, sure.
Yeah, we did a quick study actually that I thought may be helpful. I wasn't sure how helpful, so I didn't really put it up here, but we just kind of approximated the 3D in 3D where we think, or how we think it would appear. So existing and proposed, and I think once we saw this, it kind of further reinforced our inclination towards maybe the Nantucket dormer version, but Yeah. I'll go ahead. I actually have multiple copies. Just one second. That rendering also simulates a row of arborvitaes or some kind of an evergreen hedge that will be planted in front of the neighbor's fence, pool fence that they're putting up right now. We don't know the exact height of that vegetative buffer, but there will be some kind of a buffer there, so, which will further conceal this structure from the street.
John, in your drawing, in the rendering, you show brackets there.
That's right, that was a, that kind of came and went. We were showing the brackets on the larger, in a
Yes.
later iteration, we just kept them at the larger gables, primary gables, and we took them out of the small gables, so you can disregard the brackets in the small dormers.
Okay,
It will be more like what's drawn here.
okay. Are there brackets on, there are no brackets on the smaller dormer, the existing smaller dormers?
Not on the existing ones, I
Right.
believe only the
They're-
larger ones.
They're quite simple,
Yeah.
okay.
That's right.
So, John, I know you weren't out at the site visit, so I couldn't really go into the discussion of kind of how the project evolved. Were there studies done of looking at building off the back of the house initially, and was that a consideration?
Yeah, we actually did consider that. I'll just pull the site plan out again. So we actually considered potentially bumping back toward here, but there's an existing, it's labeled as garage on the survey, but it is a shed structure that the Haywood would like to keep there and use it as kind of a multi-purpose space. So that was in the way. The other issue was that the setback was restricting us from putting something potentially in front of the kitchen, where we have the half octagon kitchen bay would have had to be concealed by any addition that was put back here. And then the third reason was that the backyard was very important to the Haywoods, and they really wanted to keep that open back there. They felt like they wanted to take advantage of the front yard that they rarely use for the addition. So those were the reasons why we gravitated towards this way.
And any thought to having a separate structure for the garage as you kind of go up the property, where a garage might be on the left side of the property, so the backyard could be intact? Was that something that was considered, or not?
That was not considered, I think, mainly because of topography and the way the driveway comes up and then it kind of falls off towards the left.
Yeah.
And I think just specific reasons for having garage that's
Yep.
closer to the house
Okay.
as opposed to a standalone structure.
Yeah. Normally, as you know, we most often see additions that are put to the rear of the house, and kind of, we see the house as it's, as the additions are kind of put on, and it grows over time towards the rear. So this is a little bit different. I know when you look up at Main Street, now that some of the trees have been removed from your neighbor's yard that's in the front, that we have a gable that's exposed, and that stucco look is the prominent face that we see right now. It would be great to preserve that, I think, that look from the street. But if that's not a possibility, I think we need to make sure that this addition and this facade that's now going to be the new facade facing Main Street is appropriate, and it's the right thing to do. All that with it, this is going to be set back, quite a ways from Main Street. We're just going to get glimpses of this home, but still, this is going to have a new facade that's going to be facing us. It's not going to be the existing gable that we see now.
That's
So,
right.
I just want the commission to, take that into account, make sure that as you review this, whether we go Nantucket or, the length of this or the prominence of what's being built there now is going to be the new visible element from Main Street.
That goes back to some of the original comments that I had brought up, where the fact that the original part of the house is the part that is visible, but what is really visible is the side addition that they did coming off the house. And by concealing that, even though secondarily we're also concealing this if you look at it from here, but if you are looking at it, if you get glimpses of it through the driveway side, that view is not going to change.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think there was something that felt right about not blocking this, even though the addition was the more visible portion. So at least we made some attempts to find that balance, but
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
And the other thing I'd just like to note, for the applicant is that when you're building something out that's elongated like this into the front yard, given the work that's being done with the neighbors up front with the pool, and I think I mentioned this when we came out to visit, you're going to be looking right into that pool from the master bedroom. So, it's that closeness is going to be amplified now when you build out.
Right.
And just to be aware, if that's the direction you want to go in, that you're going to lose that privacy, you're going to lose that, people are going to be able to look up in the pool in your bedroom, and you're going to be able to look down there. So just so you're fully aware. That's all I had.
What are you suggesting about that?
I'm not suggesting, it's more of just, I want the commission to be aware, you probably already noticed from the site visit that was, given where the poles are, and I just wanted the applicant to know too. I think, for me, how far away this is from Main Street diminishes some of these, concerns that I have. We're just going to get a peek at this new facade from Main Street. But, let's make sure that we, we do a, thorough review and make sure that this new facade is going to be the one that you think's appropriate. That's all.
John, could you refresh my recollection on the age of the house and the time of the addition that was put on?
Yeah, sure.
I
I'll
don't
give
have
you
my
the exact
paperwork from
date.
last time.
So according to the building permit file, the addition is from 1991,
Okay.
and the original house was, I believe,
It's 1901.
was it 1901?
1901, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we have the write-up here. so.
Checklist.
John, for me, in my opinion, this represents a natural progression for the house. I mean, it needing a garage. I think what you've done here to pull in some of the Stickley, Gerard Stickley, who was it?
Gustav, I think.
Gustav. Pulling in some of the Stickley elements really helps. Looking at your two iterations here at the top, the left and the right, I like the simplicity of the shed, but I understand why the Nantucket, with those lines, it helps pull that original volume. It brings those two together. So, in my opinion, either, for me, it would be up to the applicant.
Okay.
Can you remind us the square footage, the additional square footage in regard to the existing square footage? And what
Yeah,
the
so
increase-
existing is about total 3,000 square feet, and we're adding about additional 2,000 square feet, going from 3 to about 5,000 square feet.
So that would go beyond that 50%. And does that include the garage, the square footage of the garage, or is the garage bay's square footage in addition to that?
It's in addition to that, yeah, it's only finished square footage, so it's
Finished
including what is above the garage footprint on the second floor as the finished area. So it's not the footprint, it's the total finished square footage, but it does not include the unfinished garage itself.
So if you took into account the garage, what's the square footage of the garage?
Oh, it's roughly 25 by 25, so if you added another 550,
Yeah.
I guess it would be 5,500 or so, 5,600.
So it's almost doubling the size of the house then, addition,
It's,
3,000 to 5,500.
right, but usually garage square footage is not calculated in house square footages, in the residential gross floor area.
Footprint.
Footprint-wise, yes, I mean, I guess if you compare the gray and the orange, although there is some overlap,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, it's close to the existing footprint, I guess you could say. Mostly with respect to that magic 24 by 24 dimension taken up almost, really, if you don't count the garage itself, the additional finished area actually isn't a large percentage of the existing footprint.
And we're finishing the screen porch, which already exists.
Back here?
Yeah.
Correct, right. Right, so that was unfinished in the original square footage, roughly 8 by 10, let's say 100 square feet or so. That's being converted to finished. About the 200 square foot swing because of that.
And is that part of the 2,000 square feet?
So currently it's 3,000. The screen porch is not part of the 3,000 square feet. Right. So if it was, it would be more, probably a little over 3,100 square feet versus the 5,000 proposed.
It's a big addition, and usually I would be a little hesitant. But being that this addition sits so far back from Main Street, and the way the house is situated, I just have a hard time sort of seeing how you would be able to like do anything and then flip it to the other sides. And put it behind it. I would be okay with it, even though it's a really big addition, based on the original. And I would then also be leaning towards the rendering on the left with the Nantucket style. Yeah. I think when you're looking at it from Main Street, in proportion to the existing and the new one, I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I think that the proposed addition, and the facade that's presented to Main Street seems in character with the neighborhood and appropriate to the streetscape of Main Street.
I concur. It's a unique property, unique home on a unique property. It was very helpful to go out and have the visit. The way it is situated, really, as has been pointed out, doesn't leave you too much other than the drawings that have been made. I was impressed from Main Street that it could be seen. I'd never seen it, lived in the town 25 years, I'd never seen it. But
The only one.
but in seeing it now, I probably, with the foliage removed, the impact on the landscape around for the street is really minimal, and particularly with the Nantucket dormer, although I would be okay also with either, but that really is in keeping. Where the house itself is not so much in keeping with the homes on Main Street. The construction of the Nantucket dormer actually kind of brings it more into cohesion with the rest of the properties. So, and again, with the size of it, the size is significant, but again, looking at what you have to work with and the way you need to make the accommodations for the livability, I'm comfortable with that, so I would support it.
I think at one point, there was some discussion about exterior materials, and the plan is to stick with the stucco, right? Yeah,
Yeah, that's the term.
yeah, okay.
Is the house a 5-bedroom house now?
No, it's a 4-bedroom.
Okay. And you have the acreage or the septic, or I don't know, what's to add another bedroom here, or is it?
We're not on septic, we're on town.
Okay. So it's, are there any restrictions on putting another bedroom here, or?
Not from a septic perspective, since they're on town
We're
sewer.
on town sewer.
There may be additional fees involved, but
Okay. In terms of the, are there any lot restrictions on 5 bedrooms? I'm just curious.
I don't believe properties connected to town sewer have those restrictions. I believe it's a septic system restriction. I believe that connects to the lot square footage in terms of how large of a septic system you can have on the property, I believe.
Okay. Just a question for the building department, maybe. No. Okay. All right. Yeah, for me, based on some of the other comments that I've heard, I have a similar view that this is, I don't think you're gonna be able to tell how big this house is gonna be from Main Street. I think it's just, there's so many different angles here, and, you know, some of the views are blocked out by the house in front, woods. It's set back so far that, you know, you can't, this could be a 3,000 square foot house, it could be a 10,000 square foot house, you know, you just can't even.
I think that's something the 3D rendering actually is helping illustrate, in that
Yeah.
really the only visible portion is going to be the side of the garage. And since it's perpendicular, you really can't see the depth because you're blocked from left and right with other houses and obstacles. But, yeah.
I mean, you know, for me, if you wanted to, you know, tighten up this addition a bit, and do something other than having a playroom or reconfiguring the second floor, that would be something that I would look at personally, but I'm not going to vote against it, you know, based on what our charge is here on this commission, of being able to, what we can view from a public way. So.
You know, the bottom line for me aligns with what Hans and Tomas has said, that you can't see it so much from Main Street. If you could, I would probably be quite opposed, given the magnitude of it. But since you can't, I think our jurisdiction has to be circumspect and discretionary.
Ben, I know you made some comments earlier. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, let me just go through and make sure we didn't miss anything in terms of the materials and site, windows, that sort of thing. Site, new construction so that it's compatible with surrounding buildings that contribute to the overall character of the historic district. Consider the relationship of the addition, alteration, or infill construction to other buildings along the street. This is how we're going to review the site for this application. Questions for the commission are, does the new building reflect the site factors that are common on the street in terms of setbacks, orientation to the street, spacing, distance from adjacent buildings, visibility from a public way?
Yes.
Okay. Is the proposed new addition placed so that it will minimize the visual impact of the historic structure?
Yes.
Scale. Is the scale of the new construction consistent with the width to height proportions and floor to floor proportions when compared to adjacent structures and to the site?
Yes.
Okay. Does the new addition overpower the existing historic building?
No.
Is the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and other historic buildings in the streetscape in terms of height, design, materials, roof forms, foundation, footprint?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the new addition over 50% larger in square feet than the existing historic building?
Yes.
Yes, it is, but based on the configuration and visibility from Main Street, we don't think this is an issue for the construction, the proposed construction. Height, is the height of the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and other historic buildings in the streetscape?
Yes.
Is the height of the new addition subservient to that of the existing building?
Yes.
Is there a harmonious relation to each part facade of the building to the whole?
Yes.
Yes.
Does the new construction reflect the rhythm of the surrounding buildings in a manner that contributes to the special character of the historic district? Design, is the design of the new construction architecturally compatible with the surrounding buildings that contribute to the overall character of the historic district?
Yes.
If new construction is on an existing building, is the design such that the new construction were to be removed in the future, the existing building would be intact?
Yes.
Are the materials proposed for the new construction compatible with the historic materials and finishes found in the surrounding buildings or the existing building, if in addition, that contribute to the special character of the historic district?
Yes.
All materials are going to use to match the original, correct?
Right, wood trim, stucco, asphalt shingles for the roof,
Same paint,
uh,
paint on the trim.
same color paint.
Yeah. Okay. Are the windows and doors proposed for the new construction compatible with those surrounding buildings that contribute to the special character of the historic district with respect to material, subdivision, proportion, pattern, and detail? Yes. Are the roof forms and pitches of the new construction consistent with the adjacent historic buildings?
Yes.
Okay, and the commission's view on which direction, in terms of the options, would like to go in?
The tucket style dormer?
Is that unanimous?
Yeah.
Okay. Character, will the new construction affect the overall character of the historic streetscape in this location with respect to the site, character defining site features, trees, and historic significant vistas and views?
No.
No impact?
No. Well, I think an addition of this magnitude will affect the character.
Agreed, and we'll give it more prominence actually on Main Street, which actually I see as a positive in this example.
Okay. Any other comments?
I thought the question was negatively impacting the streetscape.
Yeah.
I say it doesn't negatively.
Yeah, so it's not negative.
Okay. Does the new building correspond to the other contributing buildings in the district with respect to lot size? This is infill buildings, excuse me, so strike that. Zoning, is new construction cited so that it's consistent with the setbacks of other buildings in the streetscape? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And demolition, is there any demolition involved with this project?
Only minor demolition, that existing screen porch in the back. Some of that roof may be taken down as it gets rehabilitated over here. It's not really visible from the street,
Okay,
but no, otherwise it's an add-on.
okay. All right, so demolition is not applicable for us. All right, anything else I forgot?
You're reconfiguring the entry, right? That's, okay,
Yes, we have a
That portico.
proposed window layout and a portico
right, okay.
proposed for that as we submitted it.
Any other, okay. I guess we're ready for a motion at this point?
I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 171 Main Street for addition and alterations based on original drawings dated March 21st, 2019, with revised drawings dated May 6th, 2019, that indicate a Nantucket dormer in lieu of the originally proposed shed dormer. All materials and trim to match the existing structure. Stucco siding to match, wood trim to match. Shutters are to be wood, asphalt shingles to match existing roof, all windows, exterior windows and doors to be wood per the window schedule provided on drawing A 0.3.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you gonna get started?
We're hoping we could hire a contractor first and then
Okay.
sooner than later, hopefully.
Great.
Next couple months.
Good luck. Thank you for
Thank
coming in.
you.
Thanks for having us out.
Thank you.
See you, John. Thank you. Thanks a lot. All right, next up, we have 191 North Street. Hi. How you doing?
The site plan, are you done with that?
Great. We'll get this done.
Still not able to back.
So, as a little refresher, 191 North, we approved the building last time, and we had some questions related to the columns, and I think some questions related to the windows, correct? So,
I had a chance to.
yep, you want to start on the windows then?
Sure. I had a chance to visit the site. The window frames, the exterior trim detail, all appear to be original. The sash are all replaced, and the jam liners are all vinyl or plastic. So the sash weights are probably cut and dropped into the pockets. The windows the sash that are there now, it's a Matthews brand, which is a very old manufacturer in Maine. They've been around a long time. They appear to be, there's a stamp, and if I had my readers on, I believe it looked like 1986, these windows were put in. They are double pane, they are wood, and when I mean windows, I mean the sash, the actual operating portion. What else can I tell you? I think that's about it.
What's your recommendation?
Well, we had talked about a light pattern change, I think, right? Is that?
I'm sorry, what, a
Did
light?
we talk about a grill pattern change in the last meeting?
Yeah,
2/2,
2/2.
Right, and right now they're 1/1. There's no
There's no,
no
yes,
grills.
there's
no-
nothing.
no- So, I mean, certainly that would, because these windows are not original, and if we could, if it could just be a sash replacement so that the trim is left alone and the sills are left alone, and they all seem to be in excellent shape.
Oh, yes, we don't want to
Yeah.
touch anything except for the sash.
Right.
So you think the sash is doable? in this
Sure,
case?
sure, yep.
And in this case, it's already simulated divided light, right? Or is it?
Well, it's
insulated?
double pane
Oh, right,
glass.
so there is no,
Yeah, but it is double pane glass.
So we could do an SDL,
An SDL sash,
swap.
sash replacement, and it would get new jam liners.
Move to 2/2.
I believe that is the request, which would also be in keeping with the house style.
Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about the columns, there was the 10-inch versus 8-inch.
So we have, on the drawing here, just rendered both of them from two different viewpoints. And the top, I believe, is the 10-inch, which is what we had on the original submission. And then below that is the 8-inch, so you can see it sort of from an angle view. And then also, if you were looking at it straight on. So both the perspectives are there.
I think they both look good. I have a slight preference for the more slender columns, but I think they both seem very reasonable.
The more slender seems to be in keeping with the relative delicateness of the house.
Yeah, I know, I do prefer the more slender.
And what do you think? Can you tell much from the drawings? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, probably the slender. Closer to the corner board size. I'm afraid that the 10-inch columns would overwhelm some of the other trim details.
Okay.
Is there any difference in the strength or the durability of the column? No?
No.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Chairman, so we granted the certificate of appropriateness at the last meeting.
Right.
And so what would a motion be looking for at this meeting to
We're just gonna, we'll just vote on the windows and the columns.
vote on the windows and
Everyone else
columns?
has been-
Correct.
These columns would be wood then, or would they be some?
They would be wood.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Justin, do you want to make a motion on this?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness. It's a modification or an enhancement to the already voted certificate of appropriateness? An amendment to the certificate of appropriateness granted to 191 North Street to approve replacement simulated divided light wooden sash 2/2 format, and further to approve the proposed modification of design that includes an 8-inch nominal column, and shown on the rendering given to the commission, and it's labeled A-101. And is there a date? And it's dated 4/24/19. Does that get everything?
It's a wood column.
Wood column.
Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Thanks for all your extra work on this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
it's-
very
you're
much.
gonna- You're gonna have a nice project.
Look forward
at
to
the end.
having you back out when it's.
Yeah.
Will, absolutely.
coming in.
Take care.
Okay, Next up, we have an informal discussion on 119 South Street. Amy is here?
No,
Hey.
yeah, Mrs. Mann.
How are you? Thanks for coming in. The applicant would like to replace some existing, I think it's clapboards mostly, with a hardy board? Hardy plank on the house. So do you want to walk us through kind of what your thinking is? And
Yeah, I had a sample. Did you bring some?
I do. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go down there. Okay. So, we've had the house for 38 years. We had asbestos, horrible asbestos on the outside of it all those years. And my husband kept painting it every like 7 or 8 years. So, he just can't do it anymore. So, and I don't want him up on a ladder anymore. So the hardy plank seemed like a good idea. Everything that I had read said it looks like wood and it's durable, it's fireproof, it's a good, protects against insects and it just looked like a good idea. And then I found out that you don't usually like hardy plank, but I had gotten an estimate to have regular clapboards, and it was a lot more expensive to have them strip all the old. We had the asbestos removed about a month ago because I thought this was not going to be a problem, and then, yeah, the old clapboards are on there, but it looks kind of. I have some pictures. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
it looks really spooky now because the. Paint is all kind of protected by the asbestos after the house was built in 1942, so I guess it's the original paint.
Yeah.
It only looks like one color, so.
Yeah. You can start them over here. We just pass them down.
So there's pictures of it that's the painted asbestos, and then I have pictures of since we took it off. Then we had to get new insulation because it's 80 years, there was nothing in there. And the asbestos was like a blanket around the house. We were always pretty cozy, but we thought if we take that off there, we're going to be cold in the winter. So we had cellulose insulation blown in
Yeah.
last week.
Right.
And everything was fine until the end of the afternoon. They were at the last corner, and my husband went in the front bedroom, and the wall is all like buckled after we had just painted it. And because we have a two-family. I should have told you that. We live on the second floor, and we rent out the first floor, so we were getting it ready, to rent it. And we had 3 huge cracks in the walls. So now we have to have that all, have it all taken down, the walls,
Yeah.
and take all that stuffing, all that cellulose that was blown in,
Yeah.
bag it. We're going to have somebody do this. And
Yeah.
take it away, put new batting this time on those walls,
Yeah.
put new blue board, and then plaster it, and then paint it again. So that's like a little detour we had this past week. And so that's where we're at. So we want to be able to stay in the house because it's very economical for us to stay there. Our apartment is 830 square feet. And we had another house that we sold like 12 years ago. And my husband bought this house in 1981. We always rented out both apartments. But 12 years ago, we sold our house and thought, well, we'll move into one of the apartments until we decide what to do. And then we thought, this is big enough for us. This is fine. So we really need to stay there because, we just need to stay there. And my husband's 11 years older than me. He cannot be up on a ladder doing these things. So we thought, well, this will be a good plan because he won't have to go up on the ladder. It'll be pretty, secure. It looks it looks like wood. I mean, I know it's not the real thing, but it's better than the asbestos that's been up there for 40 years. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And this is also, hardy board, it can also be used as siding, and it's got a garnet.
Yeah, but I like the plain.
We're not-
I like the smooth. Yeah.
You nail it. It's nailed.
Like it doesn't crack when you shoot a nail into this?
No, blind nail, yeah.
Yeah, it's blind nailed.
See, you've used
Yeah.
it on that line.
I have, yeah, outside of the historic district.
Here's the,
We've been, I mean,
Heavy though.
it is heavy.
Yeah, it's a cementous product.
And this would be a trim piece?
That's like,
Corner trim piece?
the corner what?
Corner trim piece?
I don't know what a trim piece is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How old's your house?
They're gonna put a drip board
Yeah.
or skirt board, I don't know what.
1940?
42.
1940.
Yeah, 1942. There's a little cul-de-sac. It's where Walsh and Packard Hardware used to be. Now it's South Shore Bank. Right downtown.
So this is forgetting.
Yeah, on the corner.
it's not on Forget-Me-Not Lane, but it's on the corner of it.
We live on South Street, so we're in the historic district, and Forget-Me-Not Lane, we access that to get to our driveway. But the other houses on Forget-Me-Not Lane are not in the historic district. And it's a private way. So we're looking at pretty soon having to pave Forget-Me-Not Lane because it's a private way and the town doesn't do it, and it hasn't been done in 80 years. So now it's like a patchwork quilt. So there's that. So we have the best of both worlds.
So looking at some of the pictures, I saw that there was some deterioration.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if it's because it was covered up all those years or what, but.
Or maybe that's why they covered it up. Sometimes that's why.
Oh, yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
So, I explained to Mrs. Mattos that I didn't have time to notice this properly, so that this would just be a discussion tonight, but there would not be any vote. And so, in order to come back and have the commission vote on something, then Mrs. Mattos would have to come back for the June meeting, and with an application, which she has already filled out, I think.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. I have,
You can give them to me now if you'd like.
okay.
Okay, thank you. An application for a certificate of hardship that she'll bring in with her next month.
So if Mrs. Mattis came to us before removal of the asbestos shingles,
Yeah.
what would we have determined? Replace in like kind, which she can't do, because you
Right.
can't buy asbestos shingles. So what would the commission have done?
So there's, the top board on the front facade, correct, would be, that's a wood material.
Right.
So I assume that would be replaced in kind. For the side, I'm not sure. Asbestos is definitely not a natural material. So I don't think we've ever had that kind of situation before. But for the front, we've got precedent on that. Anywhere there's wood, but.
So because there's wood underneath, it's oriented toward replacing kind, even though there's asbestos, replacing kind wouldn't be with a composite material. Is that the logic?
I'm not quite sure of the logic, because one could say that a composite material will have the durability of asbestos. or near the durability of asbestos.
And so it's a near like-kind exchange.
You can't do a like kind of exchange in this case, not of asbestos. Right.
Right.
But let me ask you a different question. If it was a vinyl siding that had been painted, and the house was being renovated, and the siding was taken down, you wouldn't have a vinyl siding put back up, you would have had clapboard put back up, correct?
Andrea?
The person would be entitled to put up vinyl siding again.
You could,
Oh.
you could maintain that violation.
Okay.
Or you could,
Or you could put
make,
clapboard up.
yeah,
Which, which this commission would prefer.
Right.
Sure. But you could, so, to your point, Thomas, you could put up vinyl again. Could you put up hardy plank, since they're both artificial, shall we say?
that's the question for the commission. I think I have to say that we have had a recent example of that on North Street, where the vinyl was replaced with,
Boral.
Boral.
is it Boral, Monica? Boral.
And the commission approved it?
Well, yes, because it was actually, it didn't come to the commission because it was considered a maintenance and repair, but they
Oh, I
just
see, yeah.
removed
Yeah.
the-
It happened.
the lesser appropriate material and replaced it with a somewhat more appropriate material.
So it wasn't a decision by the commission?
No, no. They were entitled to do that as a maintenance.
The asbestos shingles are on the sides, correct? Both
Oh,
sides? But not the front, correct?
Yeah, it was on the front. That's the front.
Okay.
Did I give you pictures?
Yes.
Oh,
I just
okay.
saw the
Okay, yeah, sorry.
clapboards.
Yeah,
I
that's
just saw the clapboards.
No, the first picture was
Was the before?
asbestos shingles, yeah, and then,
This was the before?
yeah.
That's the after.
That's how it's looked. We've been married 30 years. That's how it looked when for 30 years. It was not a good look, but he kept painting it.
Andrea, do you want to go through some of your work on the cost differential? If just, I mean, she made a comment about that there was this was a cheaper way to go. Do you want to?
I think what I learned, Mrs. Mattos, is that and Ben would know because he's our general contractor here, but in general, if you use hardy plank and you use a mid-grade, a mid-grade clapboard, which is normally used, then the cost would be about the same.
As clapboard?
Yes. So,
Cost of installation?
well, the cost of materials and installation, all of that. Now, the AZAC, or the other composite material, is more expensive than using a pre-primed wood product. Is that correct, Ben?
Say that one more time.
The last part.
The
AZAC?
AZAC, or whatever it would be, the composite is more expensive than using a pre-primed wood
Yes,
product.
yes. I was surprised to hear that the quote for the clapboards was more expensive than the hardy plank.
Yep, it was,
Were they quote, so when I look at the house now that it doesn't have the asbestos siding, it appears to be a red cedar unpainted.
there's
doesn't-
gray paint, though.
Oh, there is gray paint on it,
Like,
okay.
you know, very splotchy. You
So
can
that
see
there-
where there used to be, excuse me, I'm sorry, there used to be shutters, apparently.
Right.
We had shutters put on maybe 20 years ago, and they were the real, approved by the Historic Commission, and then they deteriorated, so we took them off completely. So,
Well, there are cedar clapboards. They're pre-primed. They're a finger jointed product. So what it basically is, it's boards that have, cedar boards that have been connected, and then once they've been painted, you can't tell that they've been connected with this. The benefit of that is we're not asking the tree to grow to great lengths, and we can have smaller trees and put boards together, right, to get you longer lengths.
The original ones are finger jointed?
No, I don't think these are finger jointed. These are probably what's called clear vertical grain, which is a more expensive product, so that might have been what you were quoted, a clear vertical grain product, rather than a prime finger jointed.
I didn't bring my estimate from when I was researching, going to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't bring it with me, but
So-
without any painting at all, it was, I don't know, it was $60-something thousand to do it.
Okay.
This was less.
So these have deteriorated?
And that we would have had
What
to
if-
paint.
What if they were replaced and then the house was left just to age naturally? That way there wouldn't be any maintenance as it related to painting and upkeep of that. It would simply just weather and turn gray going forward.
So you would pay more money for the product because it would be
Oh.
a
it
red
would
cedar
be-
clear.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I don't know what the differential in price
But
would
no
be.
maintenance.
Right, you wouldn't have to paint. You do the trim.
What's the maintenance on, it seems to me this whole question comes down to maintenance ongoing.
Yeah.
What's the Boral maintenance?
I think it's got a warranty of 20 or 25 years.
Holds paint for 10.
Is that what it is? So
What's
you can
Boral?
get a cedar
It's
clapboard to
another,
hold paint for 7, every bit of 7.
Similar.
If it's
I'm
new.
wondering if Boral could be like a compromise here in this situation.
Are they still making the Boral siding?
No, that's Monica.
Yes. I know. Thank you, Monica. No, that's who I was asking, Monica.
Oh, okay,
I
Monica.
like the wood grain, and then you can paint it any
Oh.
color you want, because it
She needs
comes
to go,
in
Mike.
a benign color. I like it neutral thing, and it's wood grain, and when it's painted, it really looks like clapboard to me.
So is 10 years a good estimate, or is it, can you get 15 out of it? What's,
I don't know if it's been on the market long enough.
They say that it holds paint for 10. It's supposed to, it doesn't rot.
doesn't peel?
No.
This is supposed to hold paint for 15.
The
That's
hardy
it.
board.
Yeah, the hardy plank. Yeah.
Now, I don't know that I heard the answer to this, but the clapboards that are on here, not the asbestos, are they deteriorated or they are? So they're not able to be used?
No. I mean,
Huh?
most of it doesn't look, I mean, you can tell without the asbestos on, you can see it's all kind of, it would need to be, you need to put new clapboards on, I think. It's just, I mean, you can come out and see it if you want. It doesn't look so great.
Virginia, these might
it's
help
probably
you.
from
These
insulation.
these are close-ups that might
Oh,
help you
okay.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rennie.
And this one.
Those little dots, they're insulation?
Yeah,
The blown in,
yep.
I don't know, we all weather.
Yeah, that's true, we do. What are we gonna do?
Did you want to do some more work on the Boral, just to see what the differences are, the costs?
The different brand than this?
Yeah.
It's a different brand, yes.
Just, has it been around a long time? You think it's better? Or
And you want to
just
comment?
asking?
Well,
It's more of a natural product
the
than
Boral,
is the, would you say, Ben?
I don't know if I would draw that distinction.
Never mind.
This is sawdust, I think, or some kind of wood shade. I should know, but I know I've read it.
Well, Boral is a fly ash from coal burning, so it's a
Okay.
byproduct of coal burning. So
Yeah.
it's a little more green. Whereas the cement siding, the hardy, I mean, it's bits of concrete.
Yeah.
I really like to see red cedar siding,
Yeah, really.
clapboards. I don't
This is
think
the
that's a
point.
legitimate quote.
We aren't really we've got to really watch what we're doing. I need it.
understand.
We have an 18-year-old furnace, I drive a 13-year-old car. I mean, the roof is going to go in about 4 or 5 years, we're going to be due for a new roof. I have to be very, very careful with, I'm trying to, like, be able to stay where we are, be in the historic district, because we are, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and I don't want to be like that house across from the movie theater, you know, I don't want,
Can we
that's
come
no
and s-
longer here.
Can we come and see you? Can we make a site
Yes,
visit?
yes.
Can we do that?
That's
Yes, of
fine.
course.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing the best we can, but, you know, I just, okay.
Why don't I,
Is it plausible that the red cedar clear quilt might come in a similar area as the,
It could,
forget.
yeah, the finger jointed, the prime finger jointed red cedar clapboard. Seeing as that you're going to paint it, you'd want a primed
I don't want to
material.
paint. My husband doesn't want to paint.
So you're
He's
getting a-
75.
You
In
want-
10
you're gonna
years,
get-
he'll be 85.
You're going to get a pre-finished hardy plank.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
I just can't do it. I've been painting the apartments, both of them, for, 18 years, and then the last 12, people leave. I've been doing it, and I can't even do it anymore. We have to hire a painter to do it, because I just cannot do it anymore.
So all the trim on the windows you're going to remove and also do in,
PVC. Painted, so it's not shiny, so it looks like wood. Because you can see the trim on the windows now, and they weren't covered up. It's just, and they've been painted. But it looks like, whoa, when have these people painted it last? But it's probably been 10 years, and they're old, and they really need a good,
For me, and I'm very sympathetic to your concerns, but sitting on the commission,
Yeah, I understand.
this is existential meets preservation.
Yeah,
And where does the equilibrium come?
right.
Is because we're, at least I feel, we're a commission about preservation with consideration to existential, as opposed to giving equal, at least as I feel, equal weight. I completely understand your concern about maintenance, the cost, and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
This will be the first hardy plank house that I know of in the district, I believe.
I understand, and Andrea told me that.
So it's,
But these
we
are,
want to hear everything that you have to say.
this is some research that I have done,
Yeah.
looking up hardy plank, because when they called me from Capital Construction, who's the people that, submitted the permit originally, and they said, you might not be able to use this because it's not approved. So this is just like one evening. I didn't realize how many historic districts there are in this country, 2,300, probably more now. And all pretty recently, I can't remember what years, but, so,
is that something you want to submit to
sure.
us? Do you mind?
I just
Then I
marked
can-
things. It's
All
not,
right.
like, formal, but,
Well, that's good, thank
there are a
you.
lot of historic districts that are approving hardy plank. And,
Anything that you found local in Massachusetts?
well,
Anything that's kinda-
the company, Capital Construction, they said they do a lot of work in Lexington, in Chestnut Hill, Charlestown. So, they gave me a list. They gave me a list of all of their jobs that they've done since 2016, 17, 18, and a lot of them are hardy plank siding. So
We'll take a look at all that.
these are all over the
Thank you
country. I
for-
just
No,
happened
that's
to
just
pick up
fine.
hardy plank and historic district, and Maryland came up, and
Yeah,
a
thank
lot
you.
of.
We'll
Thank
take-
you for the research,
we'll-
that's great.
We'll take a look at all this. we're not sitting here with closed eyes, and
No, I'm sure you're not.
so
It's just,
we'll take a look at it.
I understand that it's a historic commission. I understand that, but I need to make my case because
Yeah, you have.
we-
Well, thank you.
we have
No,
to.
thank you.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Mattos, our June meeting is, I believe, hold on.
Yeah, go out and take a little walk around.
Yeah, and so I'm going to call you. Our June meeting is on the 13th, I believe, of June.
Okay.
And so, but in the meantime, I'll call you and set up a site visit for them to come
Okay.
and take a look, if that's
Okay,
all right with you.
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. I appreciate it, and
All
thank you
right.
for your time.
No,
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for your,
Great pictures.
yes, and thank you for your research.
Yeah, so you saw them all. This little house on Elm Street, I thought, that's exactly the color of the Hardy blanket. Okay, so you'll come out.
Yes, I will call you.
Okay.
We're going
and
to keep
then-
talking.
And then June 13th is your next
Yes,
meeting.
and
Okay.
I will make sure that you know that.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Good night, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a application for 570 Main Street. This is for the demolition of a side porch and a new porch to be constructed on the site. Good evening, how's everybody doing?
Hello? Oh, I'm sorry, let's get that box off the table.
Doyle, lives at 570 Main Street,
Thank you.
which is 1833 Peter Hersey House. It's Kate. You guys are probably familiar with it. It's kind of a gray-green. Everybody has pictures of it. And we're going to do some remodeling inside the house, which has led to looking at the access to the house. So the driveway is down a hill. So when you get out of your car, there's a 3-car garage behind the house. You get out of your car, you have to climb a set of granite steps, which there's some pictures, I think, that you can see. That these are the granite steps that are rather steep. They come up, then you turn, then you go towards a small porch that's doesn't have windows. It has wooden screens. It's in poor repair, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's falling apart.
It's falling apart. It's falling apart in a million different areas. It has, some, the door doesn't work. Most importantly, though, that's, I guess, most importantly, that it's falling apart. The stairs, the granite, everything going up to this entrance to the kitchen is fine. It's just the structure itself. From the street, when there's foliage, this is what, you can't really see it. If you drive by, you're not going to be able to see it. But I specifically snuck behind the foliage to take this picture without any foliage in front of it. So you could see, this is the front of the facing Main Street with me behind the bush. These are the bushes in front of it, behind me when I took the picture.
Okay.
And so it's also, when you come in, it's the direct, I presented these drawings, this A2 set that shows existing kitchen layout and proposed kitchen layout. The thing that's important about it is, when you enter the door to go into the kitchen, this is the primary entrance to the home, because you get out of your car in front of the driveway, you come up the stairs, you're walking in the kitchen, this is the way you get in. So it's a 2.8 by 2.8 box that you enter, so you basically can't put anything down, can't hang a coat up, can't have a shovel, can't have anything. You have to turn immediately to walk in, and it's got two doors, so you're on a step going onto a landing that is this screen-type porch, and then you turn and you go through a door and you're immediately in the kitchen. Use-wise, there's nowhere to put your coat or to take your shoes off or to put your dog leash or anything like that. So if to take it off the house and rebuild it, we propose that we build it from a 3.3 box, it's 2.8 inside, from a 3.3 box to a 5.8 box with the same pitch, and it wouldn't have, it wouldn't be screened with no, it would be a four-season space, and therefore you wouldn't need to have a door into the kitchen. You would come in, you would have a bench, a place to put your coat, and, a window on the side here, a wood Marvin window, and a new door, and you would walk in and you would put your coat down and your hat down and you would walk in your kitchen. So the pitch of the roof would be the same, the material would be the same, except they wouldn't be screens, they would be clapboards, they would be painted the same color. The gutter would be in the same place. Instead of the screen on the side, which I don't really think you can see the side screen from the street. You're down the driveway taking this picture. This would be a window, a true divided light window to match existing windows.
Is this tree gonna go? So we're gonna see all of this? You're gonna see all your work?
The tree, nothing's going.
The tree stays?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, nothing's going. No tree cutting.
okay.
I can sneak in there because this is where you can do the work. Right here. This rhododendron right here, this leggy rhododendron on the end, is that what you're talking about, or you're talking about the tree in the front?
No, I just was trying to figure out what was gonna be visible and what was not gonna be visible, that's all.
This covering here, which, I took it in the early spring when these just came out, there's some more bushes there now that have bloomed, this little tree is bloomed, all of that remains the same. It's very shady there. The leggy rhododendron might go right here, because when I go to take this off, I'm hoping that this stone foundation doesn't fall apart.
What is your plan for that stone foundation? Is that,
I want to keep it.
so,
The granite steps going up to it are new. All the masonry behind it that are going up to it are new. It looks pretty good.
Are you looking from this perspective?
right, but,
Right, you mean when I make it larger?
right, because you're,
Yeah,
so
right.
the wall towards the backyard
Right.
is sort of, that location
Right,
is staying put.
right,
And
staying.
you're moving towards Main Street.
Right.
And out.
Right,
To the
so
side.
when this part becomes more forward, I think that it's gonna be on footings. I'm thinking we would use footings for the front part of it to attach to this. We could use cement and veneer it with the same like stone. We could use slats in the front and join it to the side, which would be less expensive.
Is there a way to utilize some of that
Front stone?
Whether it be, if you've got piers that are holding it up, if they're a little inboard and the stone wraps it.
Yeah.
Or if it's a lower foundation, the stone comes up to what you can see.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of grout in between it. I think at one point it might have been a drywall that they filled in with it's cement. There's cement in between the stone. So when you take it apart, could you reuse the stone? I don't know. I mean, would you have to go to Plymouth Quarries and match the stone? Probably.
So Mike, on this front elevation, you'd like to see some stonework instead of some lattice and this column holding this whole structure up? That's kind of what's being depicted, is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It'd be nice to be able to sort of reuse something similar, because the rest of
Oh.
Is the rest of the foundation on the house stone too? Or is it just?
I don't,
Mostly, I mean, I think.
that's cement, right?
She's got this all supported under here.
I thought some of it was
This is probably stone here, so just like replicate that up there.
Right, just underneath that.
Hold it up, get some
I mean, I
fieldstone.
think practically, that if you wanted us to even do a, even if it's on piers and footings, we could do it on, cinder block and then veneer it, but it would probably be better to get stone that matches from Plymouth Quarries to get it to match than, if this fell apart and we could reuse it, sure, but I
Yeah.
can't promise that would happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it can be rebuilt, taken apart and using some new stone to match the, this is all stone here, right? This is all down in here, this lower part?
Yeah, exactly,
That's
yep,
all stone for the
yep, it's a wall.
driveway. Is that kind of field stone?
Yep.
So maybe finding
It
some
is-
field
How
stone?
old is that?
there's a lot of those type of masonry, like structures around the yard and stuff. It could be really old, I don't know.
So Monica, are you going to affect this window here?
We're going to go forward of that window. So
Okay.
there are two windows in the, if you look, you can see it in the existing kitchen layout. You'll see two windows
Okay.
right next to each other here. So we're proposing to bring this forward so that that window goes away. The window in the powder room remains the same, so there'll still be a window on the side there.
Okay.
Because we're moving the door, we're moving the door and we're taking out this stove. It shows a stove here, but actually, the stove is in front of the window and the sink is where the stove is currently. And so we're proposing to change the kitchen layout and make it bigger and just kind of have a walk through towards the existing family room.
Okay.
So
There are other areas in their house where they have left the original windows to the house between rooms, like between the kitchen and the family room. This kitchen must have been, an add-on in the back or down and it has, true divided light, old windows that you look through to get into the family room.
Yeah.
But then the family room was done with casement windows. So I don't want to leave that because I want them to be able to have a place to put a bench and hooks.
Okay.
Monica?
Mm.
When I look at this picture.
Yep,
Is this these granite here?
yeah.
That is granite, part of the original foundation.
So I wouldn't propose, even if we didn't veneer it with stone, I wouldn't propose, and if that's what you guys would like to do, then that's what we will propose to do. I wouldn't use lattice. I really dislike lattice, so like on the Lincoln Street house that I did the front porch, I like the strips with the spacing between it. It seems to be more in keeping with the age of homes rather than diamond lattice. And I mean, I know that we're looking at this picture and we're all saying, well, this whole thing is like field stone or whatever kind of stone this is, but honestly, I snuck behind the bushes to get this so that, because I could have just said, hey, look, you can't really see it. You can see an angle of the roof on one of the pictures, but you can't truly see it. But I just thought that you should see the condition of the screens and so forth. I don't think the door even stays shut, does it?
Oh, God, no,
No.
and it's like all worn away, and there's gaps between this and the floor.
Right.
I
Snow comes in regularly.
Snow.
I question the foundation, whether or not it's worthy of building on. It looks like it's at a level, maybe 3 inches over the, is it 4 feet, you said, the 4-foot projection?
5.
5-foot projection? Yeah, I know, I heard what some of the commission members said here, but I think I'd be more inclined with removing that. It is not original,
The stone.
no.
Yeah, I mean, if you demoed it and did like 4 nice footings and built it, whether you wanted to then veneer stone to go around that to make it look like that, is probably the easiest and safest way to do it.
But it's a granite foundation, right? It's
Inside-
probably a fieldstone base with granite blocks on top to form this exterior that you see.
Except that I'm not sure, that definitely in the old part of the Cape, on the side elevation.
Right.
In your music room, on the side of the wall that faces the outside, so this is his music room. So on the side that faces this, do you know if it's a fieldstone, like is it big, there's a walls, it's
Yeah, I don't
finished.
know.
It's finished, it's a music room, so I can't see that. So I can only see the foundation inside the old part of the Cape that doesn't have a finished basement
Right,
section.
Right.
So I think that this is an add-on, though. I think that this kitchen was an add-on to this house.
1930s, according to the
1930s.
records in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you were able to realistically reuse some of that stone, it might make sense, but I wouldn't see trying to veneer some other foreign stone here in that application.
Well, if you guys thought that you wanted it to look like fieldstone, I could go get stone that looks like fieldstone and have it approved. I mean, there's some decent-looking stone, even half-cut stone, that looks, I mean, it's stone. It might not be from that exact error, but it looks like it is. If you don't think it's important, I think that it would probably be a lot less expensive to put it on footings and do slats.
Right, the vertical slats, sure.
What are the proposed materials for the stairs and railings that are coming out the back?
It's all existing.
Right, but your drawing looks like you're showing wood steps and handrails, and it looks like there are some, but there's also all of these granite. Wait, so you're not gonna, I mean, you're gonna replace this, I would imagine.
I'm preparing to do none of that. You can take that porch off, and that structure that goes to it is separate. Now, would I have to take a section of it off and do a footing to get it to be level, because now we have the new level porch? Probably.
And then you're just going forward.
Yeah, because the granite steps are big slab pieces of granite that are actually pretty steep, come to a landing, turn.
Yeah.
I'm hoping not to be a mason on the project at all.
All these stairs are
Exist.
existing and will
Exist.
stay. And the only thing that is getting talked about changing is that porch enclosure.
Exactly. And so you can see that my drafter, who used to be a builder, he won't have any of this, he'd look at this and he'd say, you're not saving that. So he has footings proposed here, and you see he has a footing under this first platform because he probably thinks I'm going to have to do that. But I don't know that to be true, because they're the kind of granite steps that like sit on top of each other, and they're very sturdy. Those don't seem to be going anywhere.
Well, they're set in mortar.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. The riser, every part of it is, it's a big slab.
That drawing makes it look like they're new stairs.
Yeah, because he,
Yeah.
Like it's a wooden
Right.
stair.
because
Does.
he, on the computerized program,
They didn't probably have an option.
yeah, they don't have an option for granite old stairs.
Right, no, we're trying to sort through, what
Right.
what are limitations of the drawing package and what is actually being proposed.
I have a question for Ben. Ben, what do you, we got an 1830s cape here, and then we're gonna put this bump out with footings that could potentially be exposed here. I mean,
I would, at a minimum, do the slats.
Yeah, but we wouldn't, I mean, I'm trying to think of something that's appropriate to put on an 1830s cape, that's,
Well,
that
typically,
doesn't
we
kind
do
of
a
stick.
cast-in-place foundation is what we would typically approve, but it's such a small footprint, it really is a small entryway, that, to me, the footings are okay, as long as they're concealed by slats. It doesn't look like the grade drops off much, so the slats will not be very long.
The other issue is that stone wall that's going along the driveway. As the elevation of the driveway
Yeah.
goes down, the stone wall starts getting bigger. That's where the granite steps are coming out. And I'm hoping not to have to do any big digging in there, because the space is so small. I'm thinking I can do the footings, I can dig them by hand.
And would these slats match the trim, like white, like some kind of cream
Yeah,
color?
the cream color.
Is that how you would do it, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah, 3.5 inches wide with a 1/4 inch space.
Okay.
And I don't think, do you care if you have the old foundation or the slats? Not at all.
Okay.
Anything will be better than what's there.
And what do you want to use for the stairs? What type of wood are you going to use?
They're granite, they already exist.
No, the new stairs that you're putting,
I'm not putting new stairs, that's just in the drawing, we're leaving the existing stairs. This is the shape of the stairs right now. They go up from the driveway, they go to a platform, and then they go into the house, and they're already all big slabs of granite,
so this whole area here, all of this here is existing.
existing.
Yeah, so Monica's saying that this entire mass would stay intact.
Okay, these look like new wooden stairs
Yeah.
of some sort.
Yes.
They're not wood, though. They're
Well,
stone.
the wood railing is what.
Oh, right,
Virginia was-
that's
Yeah.
wood railing, yeah.
So
not-
this is a granite.
But she's
a
gonna,
granite
she's
trim.
gonna add a railing here. There's gonna be new railing here. Look, see this right here?
Yeah, you will have to add something.
This
As
is
you're coming out of
all
that
new.
entry on the left-hand side, you'll have to add some kind of a balcony there if you're more than 30 inches.
Need a drawing.
You don't have that now.
Correct. Just something to consider.
I mean,
I'd just match existing.
isn't there code for having some type of railing there if you
Yeah,
can do some
30,
work there?
30 inches.
Right, but he-
Above grade.
And he doesn't have that now, but in order to get it,
Yeah, to get your final.
get it final, I'll need it, but I'll just match existing. The existing railing is just a wood
Wood railing.
railing, a wood baluster with straight slats.
How would you fasten that to granite?
Well, you can see in the picture here, there's probably something that's been drilled in, some kind of a pin. Like a newel post in a house that are attached to the floor, there's a pin that goes down.
Okay.
And the roof, looks like at least the main body of the house is cedar. Is the roof
Yeah.
on there gonna be cedar as well?
And I kept the pitch the same. The clapboard would be the same spacing.
Mike and Ben, are you comfortable with the level of detail that we're seeing in the submission in terms of what, I mean, we're gonna make some adjustments here, it sounds like with some slats, but are you comfortable with what's being depicted here?
I think we can add it, yes.
I think some language can be added to
Right.
the motion.
Okay. And it sounds like, based on the discussion, that the granite foundation is gonna come out. Because
The
it's
field,
not-
yeah, the
because it's
fieldstone
not-
foundation.
Because it's not level.
Right, and the granite steps would remain, those slabs,
Okay.
with the wood railing, and maybe adding additional wood railing if necessary.
Okay. Any more discussion? Forgetting anything? Any questions from the audience? Sorry, I didn't include you earlier.
Monica, I heard you say true divided light?
Yep,
Okay. All wood,
yep,
wood trim.
yep.
The slats.
You said 3-inch, 3.5
Yeah,
inch?
3.5 inch, 1x4 typically. They're in contact with the ground. To be painted cream color,
Okay,
composite.
so she has the option on doing that. if
Right.
they want.
Right.
You want the composite or you want the wood slats?
They've decided now.
No, that could be a field
But
decision.
it's, you know what,
It's
it's,
touching the
Contact
ground.
with the ground for rock.
it's so shady back in there, and I'll bet it doesn't dry out. It's probably,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, the wood is just so green these days that it
Yeah.
doesn't last touching anything wet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
There's clapboards on the side?
It is.
To match wood?
Yep.
and you're not voting on this, right? Okay. Justin, you're gonna be the 5th voting member as agreed, right? Okay. All right, do we have any more discussion? Someone like to make a motion on this?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 570 Main Street for the removal of 3x3 entryway to the side of the house to be replaced with an 8x5 entryway based on drawings dated April 9th, 2019. The rear wall location of the structure is to remain in that location, and the addition to be towards Main Street by 8 feet. The existing granite steps and wood handrails to the rear are to remain. Any new handrails to be added are to be wood and match existing. Foundation of addition structure will be piers screened by vertical board 1x4 slats. Painted composite material is allowed in this location. All trim and siding to be wood, painted to match existing. Roof to be cedar to match existing. All details, window trim details are to match existing. And door to be wood and window to be true divided light wood.
Good,
I think that's it.
good. Is that a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay, sorry for the slight delay. Next up, we have 44 Pleasant Street. This is for a new walkway. How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Remember me last night? I was the gutter guy. Papa gutters.
Right.
They worked out beautiful.
Yeah, they look nice.
They-
They look
don't
great.
see 'em.
They look great.
Paperwork's in your possession?
We got it.
Great. Apologies for the drawing. My own artistry. So basically, an overall description, we're looking to take an existing walkway that runs from the right side of our driveway to the house and carry that to the left side of the driveway, down the side of a garage. It eventually travels to a patio behind the garage that we want to put in place with some bluestone. Main target here is to build a few flower boxes, a little garden for my daughters, to be honest with you. That's what we're looking to do.
Nice.
Yeah. So the type of brick we're looking to use is the exact same brick that we've used on the right side of the house. It's a city paver. Bit of a pain to place if we haul it out, but I've looked at regular pavers and they just don't have the same look, and they're not as classy, to be honest with you. So that's what we're proposing, about a 4.5 to 5 foot path. We want to match the exact width of what the width is of the current path, but the current path varies a little bit because it's got some curves to it and stuff. So we'll do an average. I believe it's going to be about 4.5 feet by the time we're done.
Is this a picture of the existing path, or is
It
this
is.
just an example of something?
It is. So the brick is on the patio, it's in the pathway, so it kind of carries that through the whole property. So it's nothing new to the property, other than the brick isn't original to the property, but that was something that was approved a long time ago, I guess, and I wasn't part of that. In the back, we're looking to do bluestone, which also matches the patio in the back of the house on the right-hand side. There's a trellis back there and stuff like that, so we're trying to match that material also, so we give a consistency in the property. I put as much detail as I could.
That's good.
What about the you talk about a new 4-foot fence, but didn't address that in your description, I don't think?
So I believe it's been submitted before, but I'll tell you, the idea is on the line of the garage, not beyond the garage, but the line of the garage, we'd build a 4-foot fence and run it along the back of the garage, so you don't see it from the road. But what it will do is that walkway will travel to the patio. At the patio, when it enters the patio, that will be where the fence starts. So you don't see it from the road.
Got it, okay.
And the fence will be the same fence that we used around the property in the back so nothing new.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Glenn, did you say, is it a running bond pattern is what you're doing? Or are you going to do a,
I'm gonna try to match exactly what we've done.
on the, okay, yeah.
It's not ideal with city pavers, but it's what's there.
Yeah, either just a soldier course and a running bond, that'd be fine, yeah.
Plus, it travels on rock and not grass where it is, so it's gonna be a little bit different looking.
Right.
But somewhere else.
Questions? Anything else? Straightforward?
It's pretty straightforward.
Seems pretty
I don't
straightforward.
think you're really gonna see much from the street, the exception of maybe the
Maybe.
walkway on the left of
Just in a
this
pie.
part,
Yeah.
next to the garage.
That's the only area you would see, if you really looked. It's crushed stone now, not crushed, round stone. They've done all along the property and in the whole back area. I don't know if that was something that was approved here or not, but.
I could do a motion.
You wanna do it?
Oh.
Questions? No? Okay.
Comments?
Right.
Does anyone want to see the paver? No?
Thank you for bringing it, by the way.
No. I brought other ones just to show you, tried to match it, but they don't really show them.
In the motion, are we including the work behind the garage? Is that,
You know, just in, well, just in case, it doesn't.
okay. So I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness, 44 Pleasant Street, adding a walkway on the left-hand side of the garage to the rear of the garage. Bricks to match existing on the property between garage and the house. Same pattern. Then a 4-foot tall fence, wood?
Yep, wood.
Wood in the rear, surrounding around the back of the garage. And bluestone
Pavers.
within the fenced area.
So it'll be a dry placement. It won't be cement.
Okay.
Dry.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Okay, next up is 608 Main Street. The commission may remember that we approved some plans and some adjustments, alterations to the house. What was it?
In February.
February?
Yeah, my
Okay.
husband Matt was here.
Yeah.
And we got approved to remove a French door and then put in one window to the right of where we were removing that French door on the north side of the house. And so now, as we've been going through construction in the interior, we've just been proposed with a challenge where we've had to raise the floor about 1.5 inches. And then Matt, I know he agreed to use the existing windows that were in the home. So those windows now don't make the clearance once the floor is lifted and our kitchen goes in. It won't fit between the countertop and the ceiling. So we're proposing to use a historically approved smaller wood sash, wood trim, SDL window. They're just going to be about 3 inches smaller. And then adding 2 windows to allow more light in the house and then to have symmetry interior and exterior.
Can you just, I know you've got what we approved here, but can you just maybe circle or just show us what the changes are?
So it's down on the bottom, I think is the new proposed.
Okay, this is the-
Yeah, so
that's
it
what you
goes
have
from
now,
like
okay.
proposed, approved,
Okay, I got you.
new, proposed.
And so the changes are just these double hung, correct? Is that
Correct.
these two So you got,
Yeah, I can show you.
yeah, I just want to make sure. So we got this one here,
Yeah.
we got this one here.
Yeah.
These are the same? Nothing changed up here?
Nothing's changed.
So it's just these two double hungs?
Correct.
Okay.
And those, all four of those are going to be shorter in height?
Yeah, by about 3 inches.
Do you know if they're going to match the height on these on that side?
Yeah, so we're going to replace all the windows with all of the same windows.
So, simulated divided light,
Wood sash, wood trim.
okay. Okay. What do you guys think?
I just, I don't know if I'm completely following. Are these mold units that are going in, or will there be a stud pocket?
There'll be a space in between them.
Okay.
I think Tom Turner, our contractor, said that there will be like 3 inches in between.
So the trim width.
With the trim, yeah,
Okay.
the width of the trim.
Okay.
So each window will have trim on it.
All right, so that's a stud pocket. And I didn't follow everything Mr. Chairman was pointing out.
So these two are, it's these two sets.
Okay,
And this is what we approved here.
got it.
And she wants to do this 3 inches shorter.
So the position of this one hasn't changed?
Looks like
Not
it has.
the spot. It's going to stay exactly the same.
Yeah, so these,
Like the window, the rough opening,
Yeah,
the new
these-
window will just be put into that spot.
those two are the same placement. so-
Yes, yes.
Everybody see that? Kind of what's
Sorry,
going on?
that's on.
These-
And then they're
these
3
two are the
inches
same,
shorter than,
but these
3
two-
inches shorter, so then we can have trim on the interior.
Got it.
Because the ceiling's so low now.
right. So the sill height will be the same, you're just shrinking the top.
If you guys look what was original, what was existing here before, you know, we'd approved quite a bit of work already.
Yeah.
From the existing.
Yep.
With that French door coming out and, you know, these window placements, that small window, there was already quite a bit that we'd okayed, so, you know, this is almost like field work, you know?
Yep.
But I'm glad that you're here to go through this with us. Any other questions? Okay,
So is this a new application?
it is.
It's a new application modifying
Yeah.
what was already approved.
And these are simulated divided light?
Yes.
All wood?
Wood, yep.
Got it.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
Sure.
You want to do this one, Ronnie?
Sure.
Yes. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 608 Main Street, which is an amendment to a previously awarded certificate of appropriateness. It provides for the alteration of the approval in February of this year on the left elevation in the kitchen area of the home, which will replace double windows where single windows had been approved. Those windows will be 3 inches shorter. They will be all wood and simulated divided light.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the attached says that this is going to be a true divided light.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I heard simulated. Is
I
it,
thought it was a steel.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
looking at,
probably an error.
okay.
So.
Yeah,
Your preference is simulated?
yes.
Okay.
okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you, good luck.
All right, see you later. Okay, last but not least, we have Bank Avenue.
We'll get 'em.
I sped it up a little bit. Could you tell me? Nice work. Feel that?
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
Our engineer, Mr. Cavanaro, is upstairs, still at the Board of Health.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go up and see what
Okay.
he is.
Let me, while you're up there, I'll just kind of read this document that you put together, Andrea, beforehand. Okay. All right, so Andrea forwarded an email to all of us, just to give everybody a little bit of a background here on what's going on with the Bank Avenue project. You recently approved an application for a mixed-use development of this property. The site plan included the application, in that application showed that the building containing the leather shop is to be removed, which we previously approved, and the garage with an apartment above is to remain. So that's the change for us. A new application was submitted that we have requesting a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the garage with an apartment above. On Saturday, May 4th, the commission visited the site to assess the building. Property owner John Barry allowed access to the apartment. Thanks a lot for doing that, making that happen. Although the Form B for the property states that the building was built in 1927, it appears to be older. The owner originally planned to include the building's apartment in his mixed-use development. However, traffic studies have shown that in order for emergency vehicles, namely fire trucks, a large fire truck, to access the property and respond to a potential emergency, the building will have to be removed. Two McMahon Associates documents included in your packet discuss the traffic issues related to the site. Two memos from the fire marshal cite an inadequate turning radius for fire apparatus to negotiate the site. Without the required turning radius, fire will not approve the application. Hans and I met with John Cavanaro, engineer for the project, earlier in the week. He reviewed this current site plan, explaining how the desired turning radius can be achieved. He will have the same discussion with the commission on Thursday night. If the turning radius can't be achieved, the project will not go forward. So meaning that if the building stays there on the right-hand side and it is not removed, there's issues with the fire truck getting in and out. You will have to determine, based on Mr. Cavanaro's presentation and the questions you ask him, whether or not there is an alternative to demolition that will resolve the turning radius problem. If you determine that there is no alternative, you will then have to determine whether or not the building is of sufficient historical and architectural significance to warrant saving. Just to go into some of the additional commentary from the fire department. I'll read this into the record too. So on March 26, 2019, Lieutenant Christopher DiNapoli wrote a letter to the members of the planning board, and I'll read it into the record. I have reviewed the revised plans. I note they reference a previous letter from me relieving them of fire lanes. That is correct. However, they cannot provide the appropriate turn radius of our apparatus. We will not rely on mounting curbs or driving through parking spaces, meaning that if cars are there, there's no way for the fire truck to get in and out. As we all know, curbs on corners become piled with snow and cars parked in spaces. Also, they have narrowed the exit way to 12 feet, and this is not going to accommodate the apparatus. At a minimum, we would need 14 feet with 20 feet preferred. Unless these issues are corrected, the fire department cannot agree to the approval of this project, as we would not have appropriate access to a multifamily dwelling, poses a significant life and safety hazard. Then on May 8th, 2019, Lieutenant DiNapoli issues another letter from the Hingham Fire Department to members of the planning board. He says, in a follow-up to the previous letter issued by this office regarding the proposed project at 103 to 105 North Street, the building at the rear of the property needs to be removed in order for our apparatus to be able to make the turn radius as required for the property. The structure in question is a mixed garage residential currently standing to the right-hand rear of the property, if facing the property. The most recent plans showed to me had the building removed and all turning radiuses showed as appropriate. The fire department is not opposed to this project, provided these turning radiuses are met. Should you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me respectfully, Lieutenant DiNapoli. And then just some other information that we have from the Stephen Dempsey and Sue. There is a letter to Mary Savage Dunham in the planning board office. Hi, Mary. After review of the draft plan sent to me by Cavanera Consulting on Friday, May 10th, it is apparent that the proposed sewer service to be installed requires the existing garage to be demolished in order to install a new manhole and connect to an existing manhole on the property. The existing sewer service must be cut and capped by a licensed drain layer prior to the demolition. A video inspection of the existing service must be performed prior to the connection to ensure the integrity of the service is sound. All permits and fees must be complete and paid in full prior to the work being performed. The installation must be in compliance with the Sewer Commission's current rules and regulations. Barring something unforeseen, the Sewer Department will approve the connection. Please feel free to contact me with any further discussion. And I believe there is an option here to potentially go around the building, but this needs to be connected to the town sewer, so we can investigate that further with some questions at the during this hearing. Okay, John, thank you for coming down.
My pleasure. I apologize.
I was just, no, it's all right. They had some other business to pertain to related to this project. So I just read in the fire department issue, and I read in the issue with the sewer, and just basically gave an overview that Andrea provided to our commission of what happened at the site visit, what we know. But perhaps if you want to give a quick review.
Sure.
Of so others that may not have seen the turning radiuses and how the fire engine needs to come in and out of there, given the current situation of the building, and so the other members of the commission can understand, that would be great. Okay. Thank you.
Is this an okay location for this? Do I need to
You need to speak into them.
speak into the mic?
Mike? You can hear him? Okay.
Hear me okay? All right, good evening, members of the commission. I apologize again for my tardiness. My name is John Cavanero. I'm a civil engineer from Cavanero Consulting in Norwell, and we've been the site engineer on this project since its inception. So this plan is the plan I believe that Sevi had included with the original application that was approved with the latest revision to the building. It's gone through multiple revisions, but this is the now near current reduced version of this building. At this time, we had a design that had a counterclockwise circulation through the site. We entered on the easterly side, we exited on the westerly side. And this intended to keep that detached garage house, carriage house. When we submitted this to the planning board, we received immediate adverse response, I guess, from both civil engineer and traffic engineer that we had issues with circulation, mostly with fire apparatus to get around the site in this direction. And then we also started to resolve some, or hear about some issues with parking as it related to zoning. So we had a circulation issue right off the bat, and we had a parking issue right off the bat. The parking related to the fact that in the mixed-use development downtown, we're allowed to have one space per residential unit, but that's only if you have a mixed-use building. So it's you get the relief because you're providing commercial use in that same building. Where the existing building is all residential, as well as the detached carriage house, that would require 2 spaces per every unit. So that immediately created a need for more parking than what we had originally anticipated. Additionally, when we started getting through some of the more in-depth traffic analyses, it became evident, as I mentioned earlier, that that counterclockwise circulation just wasn't working. And it turned out that the safest and best route through the site was to come in a clockwise pattern, but in order to make this work, the carriage house just doesn't fit with the smallest apparatus that the Hingham Fire Department requires us to put on this site. This isn't for a ladder truck that we can knock down to a smaller vehicle. This is the pumper truck. So this doesn't work from a circulation standpoint for the fire apparatus, and in addition to that, we needed to pick up some more parking spaces for this current definition of the use for the existing facilities. On top of that, as we started to get the resolution to the traffic and circulation, when we start to populate this with the infrastructure, stormwater and sewer, as you mentioned earlier, we also run into conflicts with this detached structure. So really a combination of circulation, fire safety, parking, utilities, it was all adding up to the fact that there was just no room left for this building. It was something that we tried to keep in earlier editions, but it just didn't fit. As we started to compress and address concerns from the abutters about the size and scale of this project, everything just started to get closer and closer, and we ended up, I think, with a building that's very favorable to the majority, but it creates a more compact environment for both vehicular and utility occupation.
Thank you, Board, and thank you, John, for the presentation. Obviously, I think you folks, most of you, if not all of you, have had an opportunity to visit the site, so I think you're familiar with the buildings, familiar with the building known as 99 North Street, which is the garage with the one-bedroom apartment above. I think we've been through 5 iterations of this plan, dating back to about a year ago when we first introduced the proposal to the town officials. 4 of those 5 included keeping the garage, and as John has pointed out, it became pretty obvious over the last 2 months. I mean, frankly, 2 months ago, we met with the planning board. It was a very difficult meeting for us because essentially we were told the site will not work with fire apparatus with that building in its place, and so we were told by the traffic folks, excuse me, and the fire department that it had to be removed. I think you folks are all aware that, you know, we had a much different proposal a year ago, significantly larger building set back on the site, and because of, again, working hard to try to accommodate the neighbors, town officials, peer review engineers, this project is dramatically scaled back. The building is pulled forward substantially and really to the best we can accommodate abutters. And again, we're at a point where I wasn't expecting to come back to this, the Historic Commission, but here we are, you know. So again, it's not something that was in our original plan, but as things evolved, it's really being kind of dictated to us that this building cannot stay in the scheme that we've come up with.
Yeah, thank you. Questions from the audience? Comments? Okay. All right. I'm sure there's some questions here. Who would like to start?
So we think the building is from 1927, or the tax records? Because there is no Form B?
Actually, when we went through with Mr. Berry, it was kind of confusing because the Form B tells us that the building was constructed in 1927, although there were elements in there that made, that the commission members may have felt were older than that. And so what I did was ask Ben Wilcox to go over there and take a look. And he didn't go inside, but he did go outside and walked around. And his thought was that, well, first of all, he said to me that the hardware on those garage doors is quite old. It's older, certainly older than 1927. And he also made the point, and this has been true in a lot of other cases, that the assessors will date something based on when it first began being used as what it is, a garage. So it could very possibly be much older than that. I think our own preservation consultants who prepared the description of the property in the Form B also listed it as 1927 and did not attach any historical or architectural significance to that building in particular. So I just offer that by way of additional information that needs to be considered by the board members.
And is it fair to say that this building is visible from a public way when you're looking down, I think you called it the easterly exit point, so that alley point? Is that the only visible point?
I think it's visible from a public way. I think we need to determine its significance, and if is it an important element of the streetscape on North Street or from a public way? So I mean that's how I'm looking at it. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a conundrum. I mean, our charge is preservation and maintaining these buildings, and at the same time, I think we need to consider what this building is an important part of the streetscape on North Street. You guys have done a ton of work here getting this project to where it is right now. I think you're creating value behind this building in terms of some opportunities for some additional, housing for some folks in Hingham with some parking and some additional retail space. So, I think the applicant's being held up here because of this proposed demolition. So, it's a conundrum in that, losing a building and demolishing something is something that is not inherent to our, how we view things and what our charge is. But at the same time, I think it's important to kind of, look at, realistically what the applicant would like to do with this project.
I agree, Mr. Chairman, but I think we need to have a rationale about why this building is historically significant or is not historically significant. Looking at the building, it has a certain decrepitude to it, but I don't think we can decide that it's not historically significant based on decrepitude. And, the Form B wasn't particularly revealing. And, is that telling that Monique Lehner didn't comment on that outbuilding in the Form B, and does that mean that it's not significant? I think we need criteria to know whether it is or is not in terms of making a determination. I certainly understand the pragmatics of the situation.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, you're so right, Virginia. And I think usually the the way that is evaluated is according to the National Register criteria for determining whether something is historically significant. And that would be, is it associated with some important person, someone who was important to the town, and made a great contribution, a name that we'd all recognize? Did something important to the town happen there? So those are the two basic, I think. And then in terms of architectural significance, is that particular building an example of a period building that would really exemplify all the best characteristics of that period and style?
One thing that I've looked at is the worksheet in terms of demolition and kind of how we review it, review criteria, and how we evaluate if something is a candidate for demolition. So, in our worksheet, we say demolition of historic assets in a historic district represents a loss of historic fabric and may adversely impact the streetscape. Demolition of all or a portion of a historic building is generally discouraged unless substantial justification is provided. So, given that, some of the questions that we ask ourselves here, and you can kind of just mull this over, but I'll read them. Does the proposed demolition apply to a main building or an outbuilding? I think in this case, the main building is the structure in front, North Street, and this is somewhat of an outbuilding. I think we would agree on that.
Yeah.
Is the entire building or a specific portion proposed for demolition? This is the entire building. Has evidence been provided to justify demolition? So I think that's something that we need to think about. Has the applicant done that? In some of the issues brought up with the safety and the fire piece, is that enough for justification? Have reasonable alternatives to demolition been explored? And that's something that we can ask the applicant and think about. And will demolition adversely affect adjacent historic buildings or the character-defining nature of the streetscape? I think this is a building that's, it's to the rear of the property. I don't think it's a main feature of North Street or Bank Avenue. And I think you need to think about, if this building comes down, is there an adverse impact to that area, that parking lot, and envision this new building going up there? Is it going to have a detrimental impact to this site?
And my opinion, I've never noticed it beforehand, so I would that might be my own observations, but it did not have a significant impact on my view of the North streetscape.
I have a question. Ben didn't comment beyond the hardware about the building, did he? I mean, is it a significant post and beam, construction of a carriage house?
No, but he couldn't determine that because he was not inside.
Mhm.
What he did note was the foundation, which we were all able to see at the...
As being older than 27?
Ben, what did you think about the construction? I know it needed some work, but...
I tried to peer, I peered in the windows of the garage, and it's all covered. The ceiling is covered. I was hoping to see some exposed frame. The building sits very low, which is typical of older buildings, and there is some granite peeking out at various corners. No, it would be a guess on my part. So I'm reluctant to guess based on the documentation that we have here of 1927 until that can be proven otherwise. I have to go under that assumption. That hardware on the doors could have been brought, I mean, this could very easily have been somebody that brought in that hardware and did that replacement.
Right.
We can't say that that was original. And I'm having a hard time looking at the facade down that easterly entry point and tell you what kind of structure that is. It looks like a barn, I guess, with a dormer thrown on it late in the game. Those are picture units. They don't appear to look like they operate. I can't entirely tell, but those are certainly not original. And they've been cut into the eave line, so they weren't, their intent was never, no one would normally put windows that large in a dormer such as that. You're going to create water problems in the structure.
And there was some older elements of that house in
Yeah,
terms of sinks and hardware.
Yeah, the
and
trim detail on the interior of the
stair-
house. Yep.
Stairs, there was.
Yep.
But there was also some styrofoam in there.
Yep.
Beams, right?
Yep.
Foam.
Painted styrofoam.
And there was also some, there was some PVC work that had been put in over the years.
Right.
On
Correct.
some of the trim, correct? So, maybe this was a barn that was converted over time. It's tough to say.
Yeah. Let me just ask for exhaustive purposes. What are the options for what needs to be accomplished for the project that would allow the building to be kept? If any.
Excuse me. Again, I think that going through a full year of design and redesign
Yep.
and having many occasions have town officials reviewed each iteration as we've gone along, and peer review doing the same thing. We've got to a point with the site development that everybody has kind of nudged us to this particular footprint and this particular circulation. And given the footprint and circulation that we're at right now, which seems to be satisfying peer review, fire department, public safety, the neighbors, et cetera, I don't see that it's, again, four of the five demonstrated that we were going to try to preserve it, but it just at this point is not something that we see as a feasible option to maintain that structure.
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask, I think we can explore some possible alternatives, which may or may not, as Virginia said, be alternatives. For example, cutting into that hillside and pushing it back, or moving it from that location to somewhere else. So if you might want to address those.
So I'll respond, I guess, to the idea of cutting it into the hillside. There's already some pretty challenging topography there, and what you would have to do in order to accommodate that is probably raise up the structure as you're pushing it up into that slope. Frankly, we have had 12 months of trying to appease abutters by lowering roof lines and minimizing the size of the structure. I think it's going to put us back into the redesign phase. And I will just tell you with complete honesty, I'm kind of there. A year into this and all these different iterations, I think we have, again, we've been pushed into a position here that if we stop moving structures around and moving another structure up gradient, we're gonna find a lot of resistance from folks that we have finally, I think, for the most part, satisfied. So that would be my answer to that. In terms of off-site, I mean, I would be fine with somebody taking the structure and repurposing it. I just, again, don't see that we have the ability to do that on-site.
So you need to create some additional spaces here, correct? So if you were going to push this back into the hill, you got to go back beyond the spaces that
Pretty
have been
far.
created, almost so you're in a position where you're lateral with the building that you're proposing to build, correct?
Right, and I'll add just that I don't think you can site this building on this property and keep it with the same function that it has now. In other words, as a garage below. So we're trying to keep that, And we were getting a lot of resistance about the nonconformity of it, and just getting in and out of it. So we tried to keep it where it was and use the spaces that exist under the living quarters today. And we were getting pushback on its nonconforming nature, and that just from a circulation standpoint. So I think even if you moved it back, it wouldn't be what it is now. If what it is now is historical, then you would be losing that with keeping it on site. It would have to be converted into something else.
So the worthiness of the building is in question. I mean, if you're going to do something extraordinary, I think it needs to be a historically or architecturally worthy building. And it seems that it's ambiguous that that's the case, is where I'm coming from. I mean, you know, I'm not totally apragmatic, but I'm somewhat close. I'm not hearing that the building is worthy enough to go to extraordinary measures in terms of what's required pragmatically to have this project go forward.
And as further, I've seen a lot of effort on behalf of the applicant to really try very hard to look for alternatives to not demolish this building. So I think if we were looking for evidence to justify its demolition, I think we have that. I think reasonable alternatives, if you focus on reasonable, I bet you have been thought about a fair amount. Doesn't seem to me that the demolition would affect structures nearby in a negative way. And I think in this particular case, demolishing the entire thing versus a portion of it probably, to my mind, I think I could approve the demolition of this.
Just a question in regard to the parking counts again, just quickly. So even if somehow there was a way this structure could remain on site, you're still short a parking space, right, over your count now, because you'd need, the counts that are on here and the spaces that are on this drawing assume that that structure is gone.
We'd need two more.
You'd need two more.
Yeah, because it's not a mixed-use building.
Right. And the turning radius and apparatus. In regard to the commercial spaces, the 7 that are indicated here, are those all related to this one commercial
Yes.
square footage? So
Space, yep.
you need seven spaces are required for that one commercial? Wow, okay.
John, if I'm not sure where you are with with planning board. What's best case when you would start on this project? So there might be a period of time where somebody could come forward if there is anybody that might want this. What's your timeline?
There's no immediate timeline. So, I mean, I think there's certainly time for somebody if it was advertised.
Okay.
I would be more than willing to accommodate a schedule where folks could
Okay. So there's,
repurpose it.
if somebody were to come forward and there's, I don't know, there's 6 months here or whatever, there's ample time to get in there and get this out of there before you start with the equipment and.
There's sufficient time, I think,
Okay.
within reason, obviously, you know, but, yeah, I think there's time to advertise and see if there's anybody that would like to. I mean, the practicality would be somebody I would think in downtown,
Yeah.
the downtown district.
Right.
You know, it's not that practical to move it too far, I wouldn't think, but.
No, but if they would have to either dismantle it or get in there and jack it up and haul it out, and there's probably power lines up and who knows what else that have to be accommodated for. And just getting a truck in there, if you're having trouble getting a fire truck in there, getting in a truck to move, it's probably gonna be take some doing too.
Or if there is if we approve the demolition, if there is a local builder that would be interested in any of the historic hardware, or
Right.
it appears to me that the only windows that are historic.
Are probably just the two bottom windows right here.
I would
Because the
agree.
two windows in the front, in the dormer are new, is what you said?
Yeah.
And it appears these two windows are new as well, right?
Yep.
But it looks like these two could possibly be historic windows, right?
Right, those
So
look
if anybody
historic.
was going to, and said, we could use a historic window somewhere else.
Yeah, those look like nice windows.
Andrea, in the past where there's been a demolition involved and there's been a, salvage storage requirement, what have we asked of applicants to do in those cases? I mean, do they have to come up with, if there's like a sink or hardware, there's doors, that sort of thing?
Well, I think we just have to make an additional site visit with some people who may be interested in acquiring that farmer's sink, or some of the windows perhaps, maybe the hardware on the door. I don't know. It would depend on what they would think would be valuable, so that when it is demolished, those things are saved.
So there's a period of time here before the demolition where, where that could be a requirement of the applicant to, have somebody come in, or just, if anybody has an interest, that they could come in and take a look. And obviously, you're going to have some issues with the tenants that are in there now, that they're going to have to be displaced.
Yeah, so again, I think there is time to accommodate that process. Right.
Okay. What else? Any, Ronnie, what do you think?
Just, I think it is a historic building, just from going inside. I think we just don't have the evidence. Just think of, what we've gone through with some other buildings to preserve smaller pieces of buildings as opposed to a whole building. But I don't think we have the evidence to support it. I think it's a shame, but I think we have the evidence. And I understand, not that I want to upset your project, because I know you have gone through a lot to get to that point.
I appreciate that.
But, that's the kind of the balancing of what it is that we do, weighing the public interest in Hingham having this development in an area that they really want to have development in, but also the charge for this group, which is to preserve historic structures. So there's a real tension there, but I don't, as the lawyer in the group here, I just don't think we have the evidence.
Ronnie, how would you phrase a motion if we were going to go forward with the demolition, such that any potential party would have a chance to look at this from a salvage standpoint, moving it, or how would you think about that?
We could certainly approve the demolition with a delay period in order to accommodate and ask the applicant to advertise for the circumstances of the building with some detail, offering it, and I'm sure where we would do that, maybe, on the listserv might be a good place to do it, the historic listserv, but also to just make it available to people. So I think it would be something that we could make a future date on the demolition that would allow a safe period of time. And I don't know what that time might be, 3 months, maybe?
Would a 6-month period be too long in terms of your planning?
Sorry. Can I recess with John just for a minute, just so we can talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure, thank you.
All right, we can talk about the Battle of Grape Island.
And if there are any other questions from the audience about any of this, feel free when they come back. It's open forum.
So, the Battle of Grape Island, this is our 3rd annual. This is put on by the Historical Commission, the Veterans Services Department. We have some assistance from the Historical Society. And we have a lot of donors who helped us with this cause. So It is a fun event. It is quite fun. It's at the bathing beach this coming Sunday from 1 to 3, and there will be a reenactment of the Battle of Grape Island. We have our Hingham militia, and we also have British soldiers. We have, the entire story is going to be played out in a very fun way. So every year we try and enhance this. This year we have, believe it or not, there is a ballad of the Battle of Grape Island, which is being sung to the Battle of New Orleans, if you. So anyway, it's gonna be fun. Plus, there's food. It's free.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there's no issue with the 6 months. Again, I think that will give plenty of time to kind of catalog and advertise and whatnot.
Okay.
And I know perhaps somebody close by will decide they'd like to take the structure.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does the commission feel about that?
Yeah, reasonable efforts taken to offer the building, and
I mean, it's assuming demolition is something that people are leaning towards.
well, I believe we have substantial justification, and evidence has been provided that alternative options have been researched, and
I agree. I definitely think that the applicants has shown more than restraint in trying to maintain the building and keep it, so.
Yep, agreed. Mike?
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair approach.
Okay. Good.
You know, I do think the greater good for the community can be achieved with the demolition as a pragmatic option, in contrast to keeping a building that has ambiguous vetting as historic structure.
Well said. Okay. Ronnie, could you put your great legal
How great it is.
see if you
It's
can
old legal mind.
craft a motion here which will give them a little bit of flexibility, 6 months for demolition. And then give people some chance to get in there and take a look if there's an interest.
Okay. And the address, it's 99?
It is.
99
North Street.
99 North, okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the demolition of the structure at 99 North Street upon the application of Mr. Barry and his team. Said demolition to occur no earlier than 6 months from the date of this
Meeting.
approval. During that period of time, the applicant is asked to advertise in a reasonable fashion the availability of the structure and its contents for others to obtain who may be interested in either moving the structure or taking any of the contents. The advertising would be at the cost of the applicant, but the acquisition of the building or any of its contents would be at the cost of those who were benefiting from it or taking it. So
Participating in the transaction.
right. So the applicant would not bear the cost of either the transfer of the building or the acquisition of the contents.
So we're asking for public advertising. And a 6-month window of availability.
Prior to demolition.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. All right, I know we have some minutes to go
Yes.
through. Is there any other business that we need to attend to?
No.
There were some minutes that were emailed out today from Sherry and Andrea. If there are any changes, we can go through those. Anything more on Grape Island?
Uh-oh. For this coming Sunday, the 19th, Battle of Grape Island Day, Marilyn Monroe performed Happy Birthday, Mr. President, for President Kennedy in 1962, on this very day, the 19th.
I bet she did.
All right.
She probably didn't even know it was the Battle of Grape Island.
I don't think she did.
Very good, Justin.
They're discontinuing those books next year, aren't they?
No, this is my Shinola. My Shinola calendar that went with my Shinola watch. Well,
Any revisions?
Haven't found anything yet.
Miss Sherry has done a wonderful job. And the fact that I only sent them out this afternoon, or late this morning, was all my doing, because she had them done already a while ago, so, and I found them to be quite perfect.
They're quite riveting, actually.
Riveting, yes. I have other fun facts. Until Justin is done.
It's time,
We have
Justin.
one more
How's it going down
Marilyn
there?
Monroe fact.
No, but I have on Saturday, the 25th of May, American track and field athlete Jesse Owens breaks 4 world records in 45 minutes at Ferry Field in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1935. That's my alma mater.
There you go.
What do you think, Justin?
I think we're done.
All right, motion to approve the minutes from dated May, actually, these are from
Thursday, April 11th?
April 11th. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to adjourn the meeting for Thursday, May 19th.
Just one
2018.
thing before.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I attended a Introduction to Historic Preservation Planning event, presentation by the Massachusetts Historical Commission a couple of weeks ago. And it was interesting. I really would have loved to have attended it a year and a half ago when I was totally green. But it was interesting. I've got a little information. I've got the PowerPoint that I'll send along to you. It would be very helpful for new members coming on. Just talks about the distinction between a historical commission and a historic districts, and some interesting information. There was also a handout, which I meant to make copies of and bring tonight, but I will bring that for the next meeting.
Oh,
It
that's
was-
great.
Yeah, it was
That'd be
very
nice.
interesting, and
We
I
should
think
put some time in the agenda
Yeah,
to
let's
discuss
do it.
that.
yeah,
Let's
and
do
share
it.
the PowerPoint too.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, for many of you, it probably won't be news, but just the organization, the way they talked about it was really interesting. So I'll share that next time.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, ready to adjourn? Mm-hmm. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.